Three, two, one.
Hello, 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 guys. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time tuning in to the Girlfriends and Gossip podcast, I am your host, Shantae, owner of the Twa Bedroom Beauty brand. I would like to yet again say that this is a safe space full of love, light, truth, and transparency. Here we will always uplift, never tear down. And it is my hope and my prayer that the things that I impart to you help and not harm. So, for tonight's episode, I want to talk about setting goals for the new year and maximizing your time so that you can achieve those set goals. When I got the idea for this week's podcast, originally I thought I'd do the topic of maximizing your time and your finances, but I feel like finances deserves a week all by itself because it is very, very important, very, very detailed, and I do not want to do it any injustice by trying to fit it into this. So stay tuned. We'll talk about maximizing your finances at a later date. All right, guys. So tonight's tea blend will comprise of cozy chamomile with a little bit of peach bellini, a splash of lemon juice, and a little bit of honey. Again, I do non-caffeinated teas because when I'm done with this, I plan on going to sleep. So I'll link the items that I use for my tea in the description box, as well as this set of pajamas that I got from Target, just in case you guys like it. So I'm a very analytical person, ironically enough, and I like to look at statistical data a lot of times. And so when I thought about this topic, the first thing I did was research the statistics of success and failure for New Year's goals and New Year's resolutions. And according to Google, 43% of goals set for New Year's have already failed by February 1st. And I thought, well, there's still more successes than failures. And then I looked a little further and I saw that 1 in 4 people who set New Year's goals and resolutions have already failed those within the first week. And I thought, So if you're like me, I've been a part of that 43% and I've been that 1 in 4. And last year I decided no more of that. And so my goal here today is just impart a little bit of knowledge that I've picked up and learned along the way. And I hope that it can help you actually achieve some of your goals this year as well. So I think the most important thing for me, even just going into a new year, is always um, just a prayer for a renewed mindset. Because if your mind changes, it helps your perspective change, and it truly, truly helps us to be more intentional with what we're doing and better stewards of our time. And let me just stop and pause just to say this, that oftentimes I think we try to do too much too soon. I think that's why I'm placing like the emphasis on the mindset bit, because if you get your mindset together, it'll something in your head will also click to say, hey, I know I want to do these things. I know I want these things to improve, but realistically, am I mentally ready to take the steps necessary to achieve those things? And also understand that these changes, if we want them to be long lasting and become routine for us in certain instances, then they take a little bit of time to develop. I always tell people you didn't develop bad habits overnight. You did not gain weight overnight. You did not go into debt overnight. So when you're trying to reverse some of those things, you have to take the same mindset to say, okay, this was a gradual progression. Even if it was in the wrong direction, how do we reverse it gradually as well? Once I've renewed my mindset, the next thing I can do is actually set a list of goals that I want to achieve. And honestly, I don't like to just use the term goals when I'm setting this list. I like to just break it down into what they actually are. So I have daily tasks, I have weekly tasks, I have monthly tasks. And then I also have a separate list of things that I call my projects. And my projects tend to be a little bit more expensive. So, along with those projects, I have to do a budget financially for that, which is why I said we are definitely going to talk about maximizing your finances. So I wrote me some notes because I don't want to forget anything today when I get into talking about how we set and achieve these goals. And so after you've renewed your mindset and you've wrote your list down of your tasks, your projects, your resolutions, whatever you want to call them, and you've set your timeline for your short term and your long term goals, the next thing I would say, set a timeline to achieve those goals. And that can be anything from, if it's something short term, do a daily check in, do a weekly check in, do a monthly check in, or if it's one of your project goals that are more long term, do a quarterly check in on those goals as well. Also for me, if it's something like a habit that I'm trying to incorporate, preparation is everything. Preparation in the sense that I'll prepare by setting up a visual reminder. If it's an alarm clock I need to serve as a reminder, like I put those things in place so that I guarantee myself success. And I'm not going in it blindsided. I'm not going in it with a half thought out plan. Like I've actually planned this thing. I'm preparing to do it. And then the final thing is actually executing it and doing it. And so, what are SMART goals? SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and then time bound. I think it's important to have a specific goal. And I say specific because if you say something like, I want to improve my health and wellness this year, I'm going to say, okay, how? And so if we just say, oh, I want to improve my health and wellness, but we don't actually know like the specifics of that, like does that look like weight loss for me? Does that look like eating better for me? Does that look like taking the medicines that I've been prescribed if I've been prescribed medication? What does that look like? The next thing is measurable. How do I measure my success with these goals? Either see a progression chart or some data that supports you're moving in the right direction towards the goal that you're trying to achieve. And for example, if it's weight loss, which a lot of people have, are you getting a scale? Are you doing your waist measurements? Are you um, basing it off a particular item of clothing that maybe you couldn't fit, but now you can fit? Like, what will that measurement look like for that? The next thing is achievable. How achievable is the goal that I set? And I think it goes beyond just how achievable it is, because I think you can achieve anything. I think it's more along the line of, am I looking at this from a realistic standpoint to be able to complete this in the deadline that I've set? Am I doing too much too soon? All of those things kind of go into play when I think about, is this an achievable or realistic goal for me? Next thing is relevant. How relevant are my goals to, number one, either the person I'm trying to become, or How relevant is this goal to something I'm trying to achieve? How relevant is this goal to, um, say, my family? Is it something that's realistic to do while balancing a family? Is this something realistic to do while I am balancing the roles of a professional or a wife or a mother or a caretaker? All of those things come into play when we think about the relevancy of these goals. The last thing is to think about the time frame in which you want to achieve these goals. Is this a realistic time frame? Is it too short? Is it too long? I think the goal and the time frame to achieve that goal should kind of go hand in hand, especially if you want them to be long term and long lasting goals. We've set our goals, and now the focus is truly on maximizing our time. You've set your timeline for your goals, but that also means minimizing distractions, being intentional with your time. If it's not setting you closer to your goal, or if it is not bringing you closer to your goal, I would err on the side of this is probably something I shouldn't be wasting my time doing. If you find that you just can't live without certain things, then I think it's important to set a strict time budget for doing some of those things, because one thing we don't want you to do is to get burnt out or just lose interest in doing the things you set out to do. For me, I've gotten down a strict schedule. And so between certain hours of the day, it is number one, I'm waking up to get my prayer and meditation in. That's the first thing I do. That time is set aside. I've ensured that my time is not disturbed to the best of my ability. I'm on Do Not Disturb. That's become my best friend since last year. I am setting boundaries with um, being intentional with the time that I'm spending with my kids and making sure that they're getting that one-on-one time. Like, all of these things come into play when I talk about maximizing my time. And I think ultimately when I maximize my time and spend my time well, it absolutely helps me achieve those goals. So it is my prayer that the tips that I have given you today help launch you into a year of greatness and achieve goals, and whatever it is that you want to accomplish this year. I hope that you can see a change or see a difference um in this new year. You are not alone. You will have some successes, you will still have some failures, but if you continue to try and you are absolutely intentional um, about wanting to see these things through, I find that you will have more success than failure. And just know, when you've done your best and you've absolutely put 100% into it, just know that I'm right there in the background rooting like, yes, girl, you can do it. Or yes, guys, you can do it. You put your mind to it. There is nothing that you will not be able to do. Until next time, bye. As always, if you like what you heard, subscribe. See you next time.